The cruise industry has been under pressure, not because of lack of demand, but because of fuel prices and investors who seem to be tacking on more importance to what fuel costs than the cruise companies themselves do. Perhaps no other cruise company has been pressured as much, though, as Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings. It has a new CEO, John Chidsey. You've been out with your first earnings call, and you flat out said, we need to change course here. In what way have you been able to try to right the ship?
Yes, my first earnings call, I think it was day 4 on the job. So, but no, clearly I was brought in by the board really to, I would call it to do a turnaround. I think the company had done a great job in terms of saving cost on the ship side, but on the shore side, I think we kind of lost our way over the last few years in terms of marketing spend, getting a little bit out of control, head count. There's lots of different things. I would really call them execution missteps, and so that's really what I'm coming in to focus on.
You also have Elliott coming in as an activist with very particular ideas about Norwegian improving its performance. How is it dealing with Elliott at this point?
Well, luckily for me, I know a lot of times, they have disagreements or disputes with management over strategy. And I think the first time I ever spoke to Elliott, I think we were in agreement on probably 80% of the things that needed to be done. So I think it ended up becoming more about changing out board members, certain board members, than it did who do they want in the CEO seat, who do they want in the rest of management. So it's actually been a good relationship today.
My colleague, Jim Cramer, had suggested last month that Norwegian should just sell itself to Disney and let Disney buy the ships and improve the big ships and get rid of the smaller ships. Is that a serious idea? And is there interest, do you think, more broadly in Norwegian either as an acquisition or as an acquirer?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a good idea because, again, I think there's so much, I said on that earnings call, there's so much low-hanging fruit that it would be crazy not to go pick up all the money sitting on the floor first so that our shareholders get the benefit of that money. Secondly, I think there's a bigger revenue opportunity actually than there is even a cost-cutting opportunity. So I would say let's go attack those. And you can always reassess the situation later, but for now, I like the strategy that we have. And then secondly, I would say, we have a tremendous order book. We have 16 ships on order, and I think that's one of the strongest in the industry. So I actually think we're positioned really well for the future.
Let's talk a little bit about oil prices. And I've been watching shares of not only Norwegian, but your competitors as well, moving in tandem with news coming out of Iran. Can you give me a sense of how big a cost headwind fuel is and in the bigger picture, in the macro picture, how Norwegian and the cruise industry is dealing with reliance on fossil fuels and the attempted move to alternatives?
Sure. So we hedge 50% of our position, which Norwegian has done for years. Others either don't do it at all or some different degrees, but we've sort of been consistent at 50. But obviously, we still feel the impact. I guess my answer would be it's such a resilient industry. We've lived through 9/11, we've lived through 08, 09, we lived through COVID. This too shall pass. I think as a whole, yes, it's a headwind, and if you're very short-term focused, I get it. If you're a long-term investor, I would look right through it and just have confidence in how the industry has always maneuvered its way through these different issues.
You've been a board member on Norwegian for some time, but your previous experience was a lot of it in fast food. You were at Burger King, the CEO of Subway. What does a sandwich guy know about the cruise industry?
No, it's I get asked that a lot, as you can imagine. I really would pitch myself more as a turnaround guy. I ran Avis for a while, merged it together with Budget, Rent-A-Car. I've put together 2 insurance companies. Burger King was a turnaround, Subway was a turnaround. So I look at myself more as a turnaround person, and I think that's really having a set of fresh eyes in a new industry. I knew nothing about fast food when I went there, and I think having a set of fresh eyes is really what Norwegian needs, and it's all about execution, all about working holistically together and not in silos, and really creating a culture of accountability and urgency. And I think we can do that here, and I think we'll be just fine.
I mean, that's a lot. What's the timeline look like?
I think the cost-cutting things we can get after relatively quickly, meaning in the next 12 to 24 months, some of it even quicker than that. In terms of getting the revenue back to really sort of the net per diems that we had pre-COVID, that's probably more like a 12 to 24, 30-month project, but it's not a 5-year project by any means.
John, thank you for sitting with us and talking a little bit about taking the reins at Norwegian. Or is it the wheel? Taking the wheel?
I think you could say the wheel. You could say that. The tiller, the rudder, but I'd go with the wheel.
All right. Thank you, Captain.
All right. Thank you.